So hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to look at the Yoleo G21 gravel bike that I've just built up. Now in this video we're mainly just going to look at the engineering side, the tolerances, the frame quality and how I built it up and with what parts. Why I actually came about this frame and the custom paintwork and the rally thing, that's all going to become clear in the next video or in the adjacent video. I'm not quite sure what order I'm going to put them out yet, but the story behind it is quite cool. For Yoleo, you know, they didn't pay for this review but they have sent me a frame because this is standard treatment of the channel. If it's shit, I'll say it's shit. Now some of this build goes really well and some of it doesn't go so well. So stay tuned for the full ride review, but in this video, like I said, we're mainly going to be concentrating on the small bits, the tolerances, the parts that I chose. Now gravel occupies quite a small niche in my cycling stable. Between the road bike and my hardtail, I can't see me riding gravel very much, which is why I'm out today scoping some beautiful routes to try and get me into it, because normally I would just ride the stuff on my hardtail. I need to get into the niche. I want to explore the parts choices that comes with. However, this is a bit of a mongrel, this bike. It's going to be a bit of a monster. There's enduro mountain bike parts on there. There's road bike parts on there. There's a crankset that came on my TT bike. So it just goes to show that you don't need to buy gravel specific parts. You can pretty much use anything you've got lying around. They're quite versatile. Anyway, so I'm going to keep the cost down on this build because I don't really know if I'm going to like riding it yet. So I'm not going to go out and buy, you know, the most expensive group sets, GRX and all that. It's going to be a bit of a mongrel. I hope that's quite interesting for you. So let's get into the build and stay tuned for the ultimate video where I reveal all. I've got more interesting parts coming that I really want to show you. Something that I think you'll think is pretty cool. Been out there that's quite controversial. There's going to be Hambini bottom brackets reaming their way into the frame. We're going to talk about T47 bottom bracket standards. We're going to look at the group set I've used, how the chain set didn't fit, how I've bodged it with spacers, and yeah, a bit of controversy with Yoleo in the end, but that's my channel, no holes barred. They come for free marketing. They get it, not in the flavour they wanted, maybe, but I love this stuff. Let's get into the build. A quick look at the box, the nicely presented box of the small engineering parts. Dura Ace Mech had that lying around. Gravel bike, Dura Ace. And just to say, the bike was impeccably packaged. Forks, frame, handlebars, so much foam in the box. Absolutely was impeccably packaged. Same with the wheel set. Now that was a Hambini coming out. This is a TE47 bottom bracket shell, quite well bonded in. Not too much epoxy, not too much excess, and loads of space for cable routing above and below the bottom bracket. The threads were a bit rough, but it's a one-piece shell, so really you don't need to worry about alignment left and right. Now this is an issue, as we'll see later. The paint, sort of keep-out area for the paint is too close to the shell. Most bike productions have the same problem. Here, look at the rear dropout. The mech hanger interface is actually quite nice. It's in two halves and it bolts together in a kind of tapered arrangement. Here you can see there's two conical faces. The only problem is that hole where the bolt goes through, there's not much carbon around there, and if you were to take a sideways whack on the mech hanger, do you think that carbon would split through there at the dropout? Maybe a little bit of a worry. I think they could move that bolt further away. Seat post clamp, 3-piece wedge, pretty normal. All the edges are chamfered, really nice to see. No sharp edges touching the seat post, so yeah, pretty good. And some nice grippy finish on the undercoat or in the paint, and a nice grommet to seal it all with. You do need to use fibre grip though, because it does slip even with that grippy finish. Keep out areas on the rear dropout, I think they're under spec. 13mm diameter is the Shimano standard, and these come in too close, so they should be completely flat. So I did file them flatter before putting the brake mount on, and it's the same with the front fork. That keep out area, I think it's too small. It should be faced off, so I did use a sanding block to face it off nice and flat so I could get my big brake adapter, my 180 adapter. Seat post, really hate these kind of seat posts. The single bolt tilt adjustment, the pitch adjustment, they are prone to slipping and you are indexed on the pitch, whereas the 2-bolt threaded system has infinite adjustment. Why can't everyone use that? It's so much simpler. Now they do use the seat post on other bikes, so that's probably why they're using the same one. A quick look at the headset stack here. So this has got fully integrated cables. I don't know why you need that on an aero bike. Absolutely. Sorry, not even an aero bike. I don't know why you need that on a gravel bike. Absolutely ridiculous. But they've executed it really well, and we'll see the internals of that in a minute. There's bosses, mounting bosses everywhere on this bike. Here you can see some on the fork. However, the threads were really stiff. Quite cheaply made riv nuts inserted there. And here we go. It's something pretty special. A Hambini bottom bracket with a 3D printed tool, because I didn't have the tool to fix it in, so I 3D printed it. He sent me the spline detail and we went ahead. And it's self-tightening anyway because of the reverse threads and the reaction of the torque the torque drag reaction. It actually self-tightens the cups. But we'll see that installed in a minute. Really, really nice piece of machining. T47. I'm quite lucky to get one of these because I don't think he often has a lot of stock because they fly out the door. But T47 is not my favourite, but it's what I've got to deal with. A threaded bottom bracket, and here we can see I'm threading it in. Buttery smooth, no problems there. And I've went for the fully contact sealed bearings. Just for durability, because this bikes can be ridden in the dirt. Now that looks great, doesn't it? But that's not fully tightened. When it's fully tightened, it reams the fuck out the paintwork. Inside the frame, as much as I can see, it's EPS molded, so the inside surface is really, really smooth. Very, very, very clean. Just shining a torch in the camera in here. EPS molding is a foam former to give a much finer finish on the inside with less wrinkles and less excess resin. That's the theory anyway. And you can see a little foam liner for the cables here. This is quite intricate, this next part. Anyway, this is the headset. Split spacers, pretty normal, de rigueur with internal cable routing. Again, I don't know why you need internal cable routing on this, but this system's quite nice. Everything's chamfered on this. There's no sharp edges touching the steerer, and this is very like the S-Works one where they got the recall. So they've got the top interface compression plug on the top bearing, and then another interface ring which mates up to the fork. And taking a very, very close look here, all those touching surfaces are all chamfered with a 0.5mm 45 degree chamfer. So very kind to the fork. That's what you want to see if you're fucking around with like internal cable routing like this, because it is a nightmare to get right, and it just adds an extra risk. I wouldn't have internal cable routing on this. Anyway, let's start the nightmare. Internal cable routing, new brake hose for the rear brake going in. All the kind of cables have got liners, these white plastic things to help you pull the cables through. Message to Yoleo, that is far too tight for two cables. There are some of us still using mechanical and hydraulic, and that is just a joke. About 2 hours just to get the front brake and the rear derailleur cable in place through these bars. That opening's alright, but the rest of them, there's hardly any. They're so tight in that port, I can't pull them through anymore without scuffing up the cables. Like, why are we dealing with this shit? Why can't they just make it a bit bigger? If it wasn't, as part of this build, I'd just stick a normal set of handlebars, because this is fucking dumb. Now, chopping the fork, did this in the bike, printed off a couple of little spacers, little clamp collars to help guide the saw, so finished job, not bad. Got a fair few spaces in there. I'm on a 58. It's quite a low stack for me, specifically being a gravel bike, so I wanted to get it a little bit higher. I can always chop it down again. But the overall finish was really good. Once the internal routing was done, it took me about 2 days. It was actually a really good finish. Slight issue with the Enduro tyre going in the back here, 2.35 inch, filed it down to get it in. Really nice, finishing on these little parts. The Yoleo computer mount there comes with all the different accessories to fit GoPros, different types of mounts like Brighton, Garmin, Wahoo. Not bad. Now, 5034, old Roan Shade had lying around. Actually came on my TT bike, my first TT bike, 5034. So I thought, why not use it? And it says on the Yoleo website here, you can use a 5034. Absolutely, go ahead. So I did. Oh look, fucking hell, it doesn't fit. Inner chain ring, the 34 watts hitting the chainstay. Absolute dog shit. Standard Shimano chain set. So, back to the 3D printer, printed a couple of little shims, 24mm shims, about a millimetre's worth. Oh look, there's the bottom bracket that's reamed itself into the paintwork. And now, I've said this, got to keep that paint away from the shell, because the lobes on all T47 threaded in bottom brackets will touch. Now that's kind of accountable for maybe that this has now got close to the frame, if those, cups get closer. Anyway, base is installed, more clearance here, about 1.5 mm clearance, no problem. But now with the spacers, I can't close the safety catch on the non-drive side arm. So, Yoleo, sort that out. You said you could use a 5034. You clearly can't, because the DBCA is wrong. So I think something has gone wrong with the shell width there. Anyway, in my box of spares, this is a free gift from Mountain Biking UK. This must be like 20 years old. Finally being put to use for the front mech. The threaded water bottle inserts have gone rusty. This is something that should not be happening. Getting close to final build now. Teasing the pictures in. You have to wait for the next one. That's the end of the cable routing. Look at that, absolute nightmare. 4 cables coming out, that mechanical and hydraulic. Now you'll have to stay tuned for the next video to see the final build and all the other parts that I put on there. because we've got some replacement parts, some new additions, and something extremely special to show you in the next video. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of thing. Massive variety of videos coming out in the next couple of weeks. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.